We are here. We are back for another episode of the Dead Red Podcast. What's going on, everybody? Uh, Very wild Thursday night, as obviously football has kicked off today. That is between the Rams and the Buffalo Bills. But obviously, you got me and you got Sox for a Dead Red Podcast once again. Sox, man, how are you doing?
Doing good, man. I'm glad NFL's back. I can't wait for Sunday. Watch some Giants football. Disappointing series from Red Sox. Not much to expect there against good Tampa Bay team, but we're doing good. It's a good time for sports, so I'm excited for it.
Yes, and obviously, this game is about to go to halftime very shortly. Please put your questions, comments, all that stuff in the chat that helps us get the show out further and further. Of course, shots, NYG edits, and Tony Clark as well. Give me 1 second. Just needed to cough a little bit, but anyway. So obviously, Sox mentioned, the Red Sox aren't doing too well. They just came off of a series sweep against the Tampa Bay Rays. Help us out, but listen, the Yankees got to win games, and that's what they've been doing of recent against the Minnesota Twins. I saw Luca. So the story behind this is Luca did a wager with BetUS for free, a $25 wager, and that wager was who calls the first time out, the Bills or the Rams. He picks the Rams, and the Rams called the first time out of the game. So he wins the $25 for once. Also, nice. Bad news for the Yankees. I'm watching the Rams game. I have the game day on, though. Greg Weissert just gave up Greg Weissert just gave up a home run to Carlos Correa, and it's now 4-2 Minnesota. So not good. Not good in that respect. But I have to admit the Yankees have been playing a lot better recently. I want to get into something real quick, and we can obviously maneuver around. We'll probably be on to about 9:30, 10:30, 10:40, because after this, be sure to tune in to Tennessee Titans Weekly. I will be on their show discussing Giants Titans. That will be at around 11 o'clock. If you're on the East Coast, of course. If you're Central Time, it's 10, and then obviously 8 o'clock on the Western. So Tony asks, do the Sox still go after Devers and sacrifice Bogarts or try to sign both? What do you think, Sox Arizona?
That's a good question. That's a big conversation point right now, among Sox Twitter. But with the signing of Kike Hernandez, which we'll talk about, I think they're showing us that they want to put together a good team next year. I say they go and sign both. I think Bogarts has proven that he's going to be A, and then probably Rafael Devers B. We've only had 2 extensions this year. One was from the pitching staff, and now Kike Hernandez. So I say you go sign both.
How do you feel about the Kike Hernandez? I mean, it's a 1-year contract. So you're not necessarily, it's not anything big, but how do you feel about the Kike Hernandez contract?
I think it's obvious that there's going to be a lot of new faces on the Sox next year. So it'll be nice to have somebody that's been there a couple years to kind of glue everybody together. I think he probably could have got a long contract somewhere where he can settle in, but his injury this year and his slow start probably didn't help his case. So it's probably good for both sides to see him sign for 1 year, $10 million.
Right. MH says double A. What's going on, MH? The Mets fan of the chat says, do the Mets go after Judge and say fuck the Red Sox, Yankees, and Dodgers? We've made a kind of a point on here that it's likely the Sox would not even negotiate past the initial offer, as Sox has mentioned, because that's not really their style to go out and just go into the free agent market and really try for it. And plus, I mean, Rob Refsnyder has been nice for them. They just signed Kike Hernandez to a contract extension. The Dodgers, I mean, also put the Giants in there, but we'll see what Uncle Stevie has up his sleeve. We'll see what Uncle Stevie has up his sleeve. We'll see if the Mets. Let me look, because I'm going to look at the standings right now. Where are the Mets placed? The Mets, that's not MLB, that's NFL. The Mets are only half a game over the Braves. So,
I know the Braves were chasing them.
Yeah. Very scary for you guys. What's going on over there, MH? What are the Mets doing? Let us know. But with that being said, as Matt Stafford just gets blown off his ass, Red Sox never get great former Yanks. Well, to be fair, you spin that the other way, it kind of works. Jacoby Ellsbury. I mean,
Yeah.
Andrew Miller was good, but there's been a Stephen Drew. He wasn't necessarily good. So you could count a couple of Chris Capuano was one. So both teams are very good. Yeah. But y'all got to maintain your spot in the division. Right now, the New York Yankees have a 5-game lead when it was like 15, 16 game lead earlier on in the season, which is still a little worrisome. And considering the fact that my company at NY1 News TV is having an event based on the Yankees making the playoffs and going to the division series. So hopefully they actually go there and, execute and do the things. So yeah, it is 4-2. Going to the bottom of the 8th, the Yankees actually have more hits than the Twins. They also have more errors. One thing I do want to ask you about, and this is like something that I saw a little bit. I didn't really know what went on. Triston, I don't know how to pronounce his last name because there's maybe a million ways. Triston Casas. What? How do you pronounce that?
It's Casas.
Triston Casas. Now he hit a home run at Tropicana Field, and that was his first. What happened there with the fan? What do you think of the situation? And obviously, it's not too big of a blow up, but I want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I think people might have been taking it, and this happens all the time in baseball. And I might not know the whole story, but all I heard was that the fan was negotiating. First of all, he had a White Sox jersey on under his Rays jersey and was negotiating with the Red Sox to try and get the ball back. I think it eventually happened, obviously, because you want that ball for Triston as his first home run. But I don't know. I don't see a problem with the whole negotiation unless there's something I'm missing here.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that happens all the time, and hell, I would be a guy to negotiate if it's someone's first home run, someone's 600th home run, someone's 3,000th hit. I mean, people have done that in the past. So I'm going to take a look at this field goal opportunity, and it looks like the Rams have tied the game at halftime 10-10. So it is a good game. A lot of turnovers though, surprisingly, and it's been like 4 maybe. Yeah, but MH says Mets and Braves are equally the division winners. Should be a spicy end of the season. I definitely see that. I mean, I don't think it's going to be that close in the what was I going to say? I don't think it's going to be that close in the AL East. But with that being said, hey, listen, we'll see what happens. I want to play something real quick because I want to shout out something.
Nice. When was that?
Today? Actually, no, a few days ago. So I've made a couple of videos that have gotten some nice views of late. My first one was when Oswaldo Peraza was called up, but he wasn't put in the lineup, and that was actually the day after we did Dead Red. And that got a shit ton of views. That has over 2,000, over 100 likes. So there's that. Then I made another. I made a YouTube short, and MH says something along the lines of that I'm part of the YouTube culture now because I make shorts. Mm-hmm. But that one I got like 500, 600 views and a couple of likes there. And then I had a Giants video where I interviewed one of the beat reporters regarding stuff that's going to be, possibly in the loom for Sunday, all that stuff. That got over 1,000 views. And right now we are at 651, if I'm not mistaken. So
that's what I'm talking about.
Subscribe, do all the good stuff. We're trying to grow our channels here. Shouts to Jess Messio. And I since Sox wasn't in the chat at the time, I have to tell Sox something that Jets Mess. He had a brain fart. So we were talking in the specific realm on Monday's Boys in the Big Apple podcast, and I really should have this clip because it would be funnier. But we'll definitely get to that maybe in another episode or whatever. But we were talking about veteran head coaches. We were talking about new head coaches because Doug Peterson, he's new with the Jaguars. We were talking about Todd Bowles because he's new with the Buccaneers taking over for Bruce Arians and never going to live that down. Yeah, no, I mean, that's a staple. That's a staple from now on. when we think of you, Jets mess. But Luka was talking about how he just wasn't a great coach and all this factors, like he wasn't very wasn't very energetic. Let's put it that way. And Jets mess put in the comments, he said, watching Todd Bowles' press conferences, I'd rather watch paint fry. And he meant paint dry. And then we saw it at the time, like, what the hell does this mean? And then that became a staple for the rest of the show because we were also doing picks later on, which we will do today. We were doing picks, and Jets mess said, you know what, I'm going to go Detroit over Philly. And then Donald's like, well, I mean, this guy also thinks that paint can fry. So, you never know with him. But typical Jet fan. I mean, obviously, I want to know about this in the chat, Jets mess. How much do you trust Robert Saleh right now? Because Dwayne Brown is not practicing, and it's just weird from the medical staff. I want to hear your thoughts and all that shit. So, it would be interesting to hear from something other than my brother, but that whole situation is very weird. I got a first career homer in Baltimore, Jay Gibbons, and I got a signed bat and jersey for it. Wow, I slightly remember Jay Gibbons.
That's quite the gamble there. How about the whole thing with Tom Brady's last ball, and now he's coming back, so it's not even his last ball anymore.
So I'll answer that question in just a sec. Jess Smith says, I have no trust in Robert Saleh. I think he's a used car salesman. Yeah, I mean, I've seen that's a little cool. Ozzy Osbourne's performing at the Rams halftime thing. But no, I've seen some Jet fans kind of sour on Saleh because of the whole medical controversy. I mean, they're kind of not wrong in a sense. Because, well, he originally said that they originally kind of had the timestamp that Zach Wilson was going to return in like week 2, week 3. Now the earliest he's coming back is like week 4 against the Steelers. So not a lot of people trust that in the medical staff. And then now they said Dwayne Brown, that whole situation where he's not practicing for 2 days. So he's possibly going to be out. And then, they may have to play their 4th round tackle. So it's a complex situation over there. It is a complex situation. Saleh is a D coordinator. That's what he is. So you're not sold on Robert Saleh as a head coach. I'm interested in that, Jets mess. What was I going to say? I did, though, Jets mess. I did predict that the Jets would fire what's his face. I did predict that they would go ahead and fire Jeff Ulbrich at the end of the season because I feel like I don't think that defense is going to get any better, maybe slightly, but not in the way that's going to change the complexion of the season into a good season for the Jets. But anyway, I have now you guys can keep asking your points and talking about NFL, NBA, whatever. I do want to ask Sox this because he was very high on this guy coming into the season. Bobby Dahlbeck's in AAA. So is he like done as a Red Sox starting first baseman? Is Eric what's the story with that? Because obviously Casas is first baseman, right?
Yeah, Casas plays first, and who knows? Like he's a fan favorite. The guys, you'll look at the Red Sox social media, and they're all hyped up about Triston Casas. But you have that Hosmer deal that you have to try and figure out what you want to do with, and then Bobby Dahlbeck is probably going to come out in the spring and show us that he's back on and dominating, and it's going to be a conversation at first base, and I'm going with Hosmer or Dahlbeck. I like Casas, but it's going to take a while for him to come up. He hits for power. It looks like he's, having good at bats, but everybody's hot at first. Bobby Dahlbeck was hitting home runs like crazy when he first came up a couple of years ago. But he obviously has struggled this year along with Rafael Devers late in the season. So I'm okay with looking at the options, but we got to, dwindle it down a little bit eventually.
Now, do you know how long that Hosmer deal lasts?
I think it's till the end of next year, if I'm not mistaken. So, and we're not paying him a dime this year.
Let me see. Free agents 2023 MLB. I could have sworn he was a free next year, but let's take a look and actually see for sure. Boston Red Sox. Yeah, Eric Hosmer has a player option for next year.
Okay.
So if he likes what he's getting from the Red Sox, he's gonna stay.
Yeah, he'll definitely stay. I mean, I don't see him going anywhere else, but we'll see, man. It's interesting to see how much carousel first base has been for a while now, and we have a lot of talent there. It's obvious. Bobby Dahlbeck came up and he was talented. Casas is doing what he does, and Hosmer are the veterans. So you just gotta figure out what you want there.
Yeah, absolutely. Shouts to Daniel Berry, officially Rams 22 champs. Yeah, listen, your team's getting better by the half. I mean, it's 10-10, so hopefully Sean McVay makes adjustments and y'all go in and y'all win. I mean, in terms of that, what was I going to say? I actually have the Rams winning tonight in terms of picks. Not like I bet or anything on it, but yeah, that's pretty much that. So that was my question about Dahlbeck, because obviously when we did our first collab last year, you were talking about how Bobby Dahlbeck was hitting the ball and all this sorts of stuff. And I mean, I just find it interesting that, well, I mean, he was struggling at one point in the season. That's why he's down there. So
I,
I think the way the Red Sox are going to value this, from an outsider standpoint, next year in terms of that, maybe if Hosmer opts back in, maybe they go ahead and keep Hosmer at first, or maybe even DH him, because I know JD's a free agent. I looked
yeah.
at that and I'm kind of surprised a little bit. We'll see if he resigns. But
Another quick thing about Dahlbeck is that he played at short a little bit here before he got called, before he got sent down, and he played shortstop in high school. And you know what? He actually looked really good. He can play third. He can play short. There's always options there. And once you look at Devers and Bogart's situation, it's going to look a lot different next year. I got that feeling.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of things with Heinblum's comments that next year it's going to be better and all this stuff, and trusting the process. I never knew that about Dahlbeck, though. He was playing short and third.
Yeah, man.
Dahlbeck was doing well in spring training. Isn't he a spring training pony though?
Yeah, man. He just destroys that ball at JetBlue Park. I started off my channel a couple years ago, right when he started in spring training, and he just was dominating. It was like he took over the internet for a while.
Yeah, but unfortunately, some spring training ponies don't necessarily do well in the regular season. But I guess it is good for versatility. And you said that he was good at shortstop and third, but I mean, you have to value your options at some point if you're the Red Sox. Like, Bogarts is going to cost more, and Devers in the future, that's going to cost more. But Dahlbeck, I mean, he's not as good as a hitter as both of them. And I mean, Xander Bogaerts, like, the way I look at it is Dahlbeck is a decent defender when he goes to a new position. And then you got Xander, who's just over the top. Like, I don't really buy into I think you mentioned a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about, people talking about Xander and he doesn't have any range left. I don't think that's true at all. And I think there's going to be a lot of hot buyers when, I think he's got a player option next year. And then the year after that, he becomes a free agent. But
yes,
I don't see why he wouldn't opt in. I mean, it's one more year with the Sox. I think it would break Sox fans' hearts. But
yeah.
it's definitely going to be interesting to see what the Sox do in terms of that situation.
He's one of those guys that I don't want to see him go. That's the captain, and he just broke another Red Sox record. He becomes the second Red Sox player to have a 9-game hitting streak where he has multiple hits in those 9 games. It's just like he keeps doing these things all the time. One of those franchise players that you don't want to see go. So I don't see what all the talk is about get Xander out of here just because he struggles a little bit. Fan base is a little bit messed up right now.
Yeah. Also, as an update, I will be at the Derek Jeter night tomorrow at Yankee Stadium. So
Nice.
That's going to be fun, even though I kind of regret buying tickets because this team hasn't necessarily looked that good. And that was $75. I could have spent elsewhere, but you know what? I haven't seen the captain at Yankee Stadium since 2014. So, and he's not really a guy that shows up to too many events, probably because of popularity reasons, and well, he doesn't like Brian Cashman. So,
Right.
I mean, we'll see what goes on tomorrow. I know they also said that you have to be in your seats by 6:30, so
Okay.
I should be able to get there on time. Um, Tony says Rays, Yankees, and Orioles, Red Sox start tomorrow. So obviously, Orioles trying to still push for that playoff spot. Right now, I'm going to take a look at the wild card standings. The Orioles are the second team that's out of it right now. You got the Rays and the Mariners and the Jays, the Orioles, the Twins, the White Sox, the Red Sox, the Angels, the Rangers, the Royals, and then the Tigers and the A's. Well, they're the second team that has been eliminated from the playoffs. No surprise whatsoever there. I also find it kind of odd, and people underrate him a little bit. Even though they're only 5 games above 500, Terry Francona, I mean, he's still pushing it, and that team's in first place, whether you like it or not. Yes, the Central isn't very good. But with that being said, I mean, he's still got it's a rebuilding team, and they had the third lowest salary in all the MLB.
That's a good
So
point.
you have to give him credit there. And let me ask you a question, because I'm trying to go back a few years. Of course, what was the general reaction when Francona was let go, or whatever, however that situation ended?
It was tough. There was a time there because and forgive me for not knowing, I think Valentine was after Francona. And
Yes, he was.
there was a time there where the Red Sox were eating chicken and beer in the dugout. I don't know if you remember that whole thing, but Valentine was just letting them walk all over the place, do whatever. So everybody loved Francona. They were like, everything was so much better when Terry was here. Things were held together like glue. Valentine was a wreck. That whole Pablo Sandoval era was. I try to forget about that.
I didn't even know that, but it's funny because I heard people like in the offseason, they were talking about the whole Aaron Boone thing, him coming back as a Yankees manager, and that, well, we need a tough guy like Bobby Valentine. I mean, that what you just told me kind of portrays the opposite. And they didn't even do that well in 2012. What were they? Close to last place, if not last place?
Yeah, no, it was rough. And on top of that, it was like there was rumors of the Apple Watch stuff going on, I believe, at that time. And then players going into the dugout and texting people during half innings. It was a whole mess.
Very interesting. Very interesting. I mean, he was once known as a tough guy, but I guess
I didn't even know that.
Older age, I guess, the mentality sort of changes a little bit. So one of my questions, we'll actually start out with this. What the hell went so wrong in that Rays series that the Red Sox just couldn't latch on to any win in that series?
I mean, it is the same thing as always. What it's been the last, since the All-Star break, practically. The offense is lackluster now. They got to step up and produce more runs, but for the most part, it's the back end of the pitching staff, man. Like the starters will keep us in games. Like Nick Pivetta had a great outing against an AL East opponent for the first time this whole season. But we get back into the back end of the game, and we're giving up 4 or 5 runs in the last 3 innings. And it goes to show that the faces are going to change next year. It's gotta be different. There was a couple good highlights, like I said, Xander extending his 9-game hitting streak. Verdugo had a nice home run. We talked about Casas with his home run. Tommy Pham was hitting the ball well. Michael Wacha had a great outing with he hit his 1,000th career strikeout, and I had the nice time seeing him in Los Angeles earlier on this season when he pitched I think a complete game shutout for the first time for the Red Sox this year. So he's going to have to stay on the club next year too. To wrap up the series with the Rays, it was the back end of the pitching staff that's just ruining it every time.
And the Rays aren't really known to be a good offensive team. It's just optics, analytics, and all that stuff. They go in their clubhouse. And I was just about to mention, Wacha is a free agent next year. How do you think they're going to go about the pitching, because obviously that's like your number one need. Do you think they're going to get guys from the system? Do you think they're getting guys through free agency? Because I'm going to take a look while you answer that question at the difference between the salary this year and the salary next year, because I'm pretty sure with obviously Bogarts and the club option, and then not the club option, the player option, and then the player option for Eric Hosmer. I think that's 200, 118. That's like an $82 million drop off. So it depends how much house money they're playing with. But
Right.
which route do you think they're going to go in terms of pitching?
I'd like to think that they're going to try to call guys up and start and build from within, but I think they would have given those guys maybe a chance starting now this year to try and pull them up, maybe see if there's a star down there in the making that we need to pull up right now, but they haven't really moved anybody up. Bizzardo was here, but he has really struggled in the back end of games. So I think they're going to go the free agent route. As you said, we had that drop off, so maybe some money to play with. We'll see.
Yeah, and now let me ask you a question. I know obviously he was meant to be like this great guy, and obviously the first half of his Red Sox career, it was like a whole different story compared to right now. I'm looking right now, 2023 free agent market in terms of the Red Sox. Chris Sale has a no trade clause. He also has a player option. Would you just cut the bait there, or would you give him another year? Because it seems like he injures himself. Obviously, you mentioned that one accident he had earlier in the year. Then obviously a freak accident with the line drive that came back at him against the Yankees. And then I'm pretty sure he hurt himself again. So are Red Sox fans just done with the Sale shenanigans at this point?
I don't know about the rest of Red Sox fans. I'd like to, reach out a little bit more, but I'm done with this guy. The last good thing we have from him was his closeout in the 2018 World Series against the Dodgers. But you mentioned it. He hurts his wrist. He has Tommy John's, first of all. Then he comes back, breaks his rib in a bullpen session. Healthy from that, breaks his wrist or fractures it or something like that. Comes back, we're all hyped against the Yankees, comebacker. And it's just like one thing on top of another, and it's turning out to be one of the biggest wastes of cash that the Red Sox have in a while. So I'm done with them.
Just Mess says Hicks over 4 batting 210, and he's in the leadoff spot. I mean, listen, I'm not gonna go defend anyone, but he was hitting there yesterday. With that being said, though, it doesn't mean it's right. He sucks. No, I definitely agree. Hopefully, once these guys, because Stanton is actually hitting now. Once they put him in for Estevan Florial, so he's actually hitting now. Hopefully, Stanton starts getting back in the lineup. Hicks, just doesn't get out there a lot. So that's what I'm hoping for, at least. That's what I'm hoping for, that he stays healthy. Unfortunately, they put DJ LeMahieu on the IL, which is not a good thing. We got the guys up here. We got the young cats. But I don't want to see Gleyber Torres out there on a consistent basis. I have to give credit for something. I've been ripping him at shortstop the entire season. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa has kind of changed my mind at third base. That was a horrible trade. I'm not going to, make any ifs, ands, buts about it. But the one thing that I guess the Yankees do just all the time now is they play players out of their respective positions. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa earned his gold glove at third base for the Rangers. And what did the Yankees do? They thought he was a shortstop. And he had, double-digit errors in the first half of the season at the position. And now you turn over to third base. He's played some very good defense there. Nonetheless, it could be one series. He's trying to prove his worth. He had a grand slam yesterday. And then he hit a homer the day before. Actually, 2 days before because of all the rain. But he had the past few days with the Yankees lighting up. He's been a part of that. And there's a lot of philosophical things still wrong with this team. And I'm going to go into one in just a second. But Sox, any thoughts on that?
No, I didn't know much about IKF. I've learned a lot about him through, this podcast this season. The errors were obviously troublesome, but like you mentioned, showing late he can ball a little bit, hit the baseball. I always thought he was athletic and young and ready to go into the big leagues, but maybe next year will be different. What is he looking like for next year?
Next year, I think I want to say he's got one more year with the Yankees, and that's it. I'm gonna take a look.
So is that your
2020.
starter going into the next year?
That's a very good question, and I'm actually going to address right now. So 2024 free agents. So I'm pretty sure it is 2024 when he does hit free. Yeah, he hits free agency in 2024. That I think he should be the starter at third base. I really do. The way he's shown up, Devin Singletary getting me fantasy points, by the way. Great job, Devin Singletary in the Bills. But in terms of Isaiah Kiner, I think he should be the starter for third base coming into the season. Your shortstop should be Oswald Peraza, who's hit well over the last few, at bats that he's been getting. And then your second baseman should either be DJ LeMahieu or it should go ahead and be Oswald Cabrera, who's he's very versatile, can play outfield. Gleyber Torres should be traded. I've kind of said that a lot of times since he's fucked up in the second half. He's a head case of a player, which is unfortunate because he had a hell of a first half. But also as well, what concerns me is I remember, myself, and we were talking in the first half of the podcast how Anthony Rizzo was great, but he was the third option. Well, he has back issues now, took an epidural, and he's on the IL. And I love Anthony Rizzo. I think he's a kindred spirit, if you will. But the Yankees really, you kind of a little bit have to pray that he does not come back on his player option. That's $16 million. And in a way, it is the Yankees' fault because, Rizzo has had back problems for many years. Matt Olson's not a free agent anytime soon. The free agent class next year for first baseman is actually pretty bad. I'm going to take a look at that right now, but you really don't have an answer. Matt Carpenter is not going to be the same next year coming off an injury. Yeah, your first base class looks like this. Brandon Belt, Jose Abreu, who's 35, but are the Yankees going to sign a 35-year-old when they just, let a guy hit free agency who's 33? I don't think so. Miguel Sano, Josh Bell. I mean, that could be one. Carlos Santana, Trey Mancini, who has a mutual option. So I guess that would be in terms of the team. Wilmer Flores, Yuli Gurriel. So Mancini with the Houston Astros, which I don't think they're going to let him go, and Josh Bell are the only options. So the Yankees kind of put themselves in a hole right here. Shout outs to Nimmer. What's going on, Nimmer? Questions and comments in the chat. Yes, I am watching the Bills versus the Rams. The Bills actually just scored a touchdown with Isaiah McKenzie. Josh Allen's been slinging the ball tonight other than one or two turnovers. So
who's your quarterback?
Who's quarterback?
Who's your fantasy quarterback?
Sox. I'm going to be fair. I have 8 fantasy teams.
Dude, I can't do that. I go in one big one. I play in a big money league and just focus on one. What about your favorite quarterback?
I do have Stafford.
Okay.
I do have Stafford. Though he's not played too well tonight. I have Stafford. On another team, I have Joe Burrow. On another team, I have Patrick Mahomes. On another team, you sink it all the way down. I got Jameis Winston. Which isn't very good. He's probably like my worst quarterback when you compare all those. So I got Stafford, Mahomes, Burrow. I think I want to say that's it for the QBs, but it's a pretty decent QB room when I'm talking about matching up all my guys. Yeah, so that's pretty much my fantasy team stuff.
Nice.
8 fantasy teams. I still don't know how I control it, but I have a lot of players playing tonight that probably make up a good portion of the offense for the Bills and the Rams.
Nice.
I have Devin Singletary, Dawson Knox, Stephon Diggs. Those are my players from the Bills. And then for the Rams, I have Matt Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Cam Akers. So a lot of good makeup for the first game of the NFL season. And it's obviously been exciting this far. It's 17-10 right now.
Yeah, I got Trey Lance as my quarterback for my big league.
Trey Lance. I mean, that's going to be an interesting matchup. Him against the Bears in Week 1. I mean, Bears aren't really that good of a team. They don't really have a good of a setup. But is Trey Lance going to be as advertised with him getting the Eli? Well, I can't say Eli treatment, but Aaron Rodgers treatment of being rested a year. Let me ask a question, though. How's Reese McGuire been as the catcher? Because I know, obviously, y'all have Connor Wong and was it Plawecki also as well? How has he been doing in terms of a replacement for Christian Vasquez? I know it's hard to replace in terms of that.
In terms of replacing Christian Vasquez, it's nowhere close, but as in terms of a major league catcher, he's doing his job. He's doing a good job of slapping the ball the other way, which catchers don't usually do that nowadays, from what I've seen. But you got Plawecki, you got Wong, and now you got another mix. Like, what do you want to do at catcher now? You got rid of your best catcher, your best option, your everyday guy, and it just seems like another. You don't know which direction you're going in.
Yeah, I can see that. So just some stuff to headline. And actually, going back to that philosophical thing that I was talking about with the Yankees and them not putting the players in the right position. So Jordan Montgomery, he's had some really good outings for the Cardinals ever since getting traded there. And I didn't really mind the trade because I'm like, you know what? Monty doesn't have really, any disgusting stuff. He's a pretty average pitcher. It's very vanilla, his stuff. And he told the media that now, let me ask you, Sox, how would you start in at bat traditionally? If you were a pitcher, how would you start in at bat? What pitch are you throwing?
I mean, I'm setting the tone with a fastball. That's just me.
Well, I would agree with you there, Sox. And he said that the Yankees did not let him start out with a fastball, which is odd to me.
I didn't know that. That's very interesting.
And with that being said, you could also attribute that as Garrett Cole's problem as a Yankee. Had him throwing all this bullshit off speed stuff and all that. I don't know why. I mean, like everybody preaches that Matt Blake, and listen, he's done a heck of a job with this pitching staff. Getting these guys to the best of their ability, the Marinaccios of the world, whatever. But at the end of the day, I mean, if Cole's not pitching himself because Matt Blake's telling him you don't start out with a fastball, is Cole really, really known for, a slider, a curveball, or a changeup, whatever the fuck he throws? Is he known for that shit? No, he's known to start out with his fastball. He's an ace. Well, he's projected to be an ace. So that's like, again, the Yankees have taken this analytical approach over and over again, and it's kind of fucked with guys. And I'm pretty sure that was a Sonny Gray issue as well. So it's really stemming from the front office, unfortunately. It really is.
That's tough.
So some other stuff as well. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, besides today's game, 5 for 11 with 2 home runs and 6 RBIs in the Twin Series. Now, this is against his former team. Just to headline that real quickly. He played, he actually was there for 24 hours, less than, and then he got traded to the New York Yankees, obviously for Gary Sanchez and Giovanni Urshela. So that's, technically it is a former team, but the Yankees still have to deal with players that are sidelined right now. LeMahieu obviously on the IL. Stanton, he came back into the game, but I don't think they did anything. They did not. And now they're in the top of the 9th inning. They're down by 1. So you got LeMahieu, he's on the IL. You got Rizzo. You got Benintendi, who breaks my heart. Unfortunately, he's out for the year. Well, people say, okay, he can come back sooner than later. It's a hamat of, I don't even know how to pronounce it. It's in your wrist. And he basically broke a bone in his wrist. And I don't think he's coming back. Don't rush him back. You can get him back next year. And I'm not a guy that's about next year ever. But with that being said, you got to deal with. You can't rush a guy back, and he's a free agent. Just re-sign him. Just re-sign him, or stick to one of your guys in terms of Estevan Florial or whoever. That's my opinion on that. Now, let me gauge your opinion on something, because this has been overall a Twitter debate. This has been a Twitter debate. Ben Verlander, Justin's brother, who works for Fox Sports, has been kind of going, he's been spearing this debate. I know what you're going to say, but I want to hear your reasoning behind it. Who should be the MVP, Ohtani or Judge?
Do you know what I'm going to say? That's interesting. Okay. Well, I've gone back and forth, as some of us have. I'm sure you, on your side of things, maybe not so much. I truly, and not even through the hype, I don't watch ESPN, right? I watch small stuff like this where I think people know what they're talking about. And I truly have never seen anything like Shohei Ohtani. And I think that he's the most valuable player to his team, but it depends on what you want to label MVP as, because is it the best player in the game, or is it the best player on one of the best teams? So that's another conversation you have to have.
Yeah, here's how I usually settle the argument, and I think you could agree with me on this. How I settle the argument is this. Are the Yankees anything without Aaron Judge? They're not. It's shown. He's basically the spark of their offense.
Absolutely.
Are the Angels anything without Shohei Ohtani? They're not anything in the first place.
They're not much with him.
Exactly. Like, we could say, Mike Trout and all this, and I'm not denying that Shohei Ohtani or Mike Trout, they're gifted athletes at that. But Aaron Judge is literally going to carry this team into the playoffs. That's why I don't buy, he pitches and he I don't get the casual hype. And I think that's what Ben Verlander is doing. I mean, to be fair, Ben Verlander wouldn't be known if his brother wasn't a starting pitcher for the Houston Astros. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. There's a lot of casual fans, and like I said, the ESPNs that are hyping this guy up because he pitches, but it's not casual to do that in the major leagues. If it was easy, which not saying that you think it is, but if it was so easy to do that, people would be doing it more. Like, this guy is throwing 100 miles an hour and hitting bombs. It's unbelievable at that level.
Yeah, right now I'm trying to find his hitting stats combined with his pitching stats. So right now this season, 33 home runs, 86 RBIs, 267 batting average, which isn't bad. Then you combine his pitching stats, 11-8, 2.58 ERA, 23 starts, 181 strikeouts. So he's got, there's no question, he's got remarkable stats. Judge has 55 home runs. Could he possibly get to the record of 61 to 62? I don't know, and I'm not really going to place a bet on it, but it goes down to the central point in my end of the day. Now, Ben Verlander never got back to me on it because, Ben Verlander was arguing with several other Yankee fans, and he probably didn't want to hear from another. Well, at least one was making a good point. What was I going to say? Judge carries the Yankees, very much so, and he's going to carry them in the playoffs. They're not going anywhere with Shohei Ohtani. They're not going anywhere with Shohei Ohtani.
I agree. I think if Ohtani goes and say they swap places, I think those two teams might be in similar spots that they're in now. I'll throw that out there.
To be fair, he's a superstar, but it's like having a good one star in basketball. Like, I know there's
having one star in basketball can win you a championship, though.
No, it definitely can. Like, he's not a Steph Curry. He's more of Kevin Durant has never done anything by himself.
Yeah.
LeBron has, whether people want to talk smack or not.
Yeah.
Kevin Durant has never done anything by himself. Jalen Brunson hasn't. Donovan Mitchell hasn't. He's that type of player. Now, will Aaron Judge win a championship with the Yankees? I don't know. It's getting pretty dicey towards the end of extensions and all that stuff, which it's a shame. Some of the stuff I heard from the Yankee president this past week. But once again, it comes down, in my opinion, just to settle it. Aaron Judge is a one guy. Shohei Ohtani is not when you look at baseball. And
It's the Angels' fault. It's the Angels' fault that if he
No,
doesn't
it definitely
win
is.
MVP, it's not his fault.
No, it's not his fault. But when the thick of things, and listen, they have a cheap owner. He should sell. He should really think about selling. Well, I know he was thinking about it, but he should really execute on that plan. The thing is, though, once again, yeah, they're a worse team than the Yankees, but the Yankees would literally be in the Angels spot if it wasn't for Aaron Judge. 55 home runs. And I have people, I've seen them say, well, this guy's the difference in the Yankees season. This guy's the difference in the Yankees season. It's Aaron Judge. Okay. It's Aaron Judge. Brian Cashman had nothing to do with that. But before we go into our football picks, not including this game, of course, because it's already still going.
I had the Rams in this game.
Yeah. I have the Rams in this game. Right now it's 17-10, though, and the Rams are on defense, and it's 2nd and 10. But I have 3 questions, and you could answer all of them by answering one player each. New guys that made a good impression on the Red Sox this year. New guys that made a bad impression on the Red Sox this year. And new guys that you don't know too much about, you feel indifferent about them. So new guys, it doesn't have to be minor leaguers. It could also be guys that your team acquired via trade or free agency. So new guys that made a good impression on the Red Sox this year.
First thing that comes to my mind is Michael Wacha. You acquire him in the offseason looking for a healthy rotation, which came to be very few and far between, or whatever the hell this saying is. We never had a healthy rotation the entire fucking year. So Michael Wacha really helped us out a lot. And it was nice to see a franchise guy put it together out there, start in and start out, no matter what the offense did or didn't provide for him. And I liked Rich Hill. And a lot of people don't like him. He's not going to be on the team next year, but those veteran guys are important to bring those teams together. And there's a lot of conversation about the pitching staff, but those 2 guys really put it together this year,
Yeah, I do agree. I definitely, when I created the question, thought of Michael Wacha for the Red Sox. The Yankees season isn't over yet, unlike Red Sox season where it's pretty much, we're done, wrap it up. New guys that made a good impression on the year. Jose Trevino, I know he was actually just up for the Yankees, and he actually grounded out, but he's made a good impression. Not like he's an all-star catcher in terms of hitting. Defense is phenomenal, average hitter, and he just calls games and makes more of a difference in calling games than Kyle Gashioka or Gary Sanchez. So that's a guy for me that is new guy that's made a good impression on the Yankees. You could say the same about Oswald Peraza. He's coming along. Same thing with Oswaldo Cabrera. One more guy, maybe Ron Marinaccio. When he's been tasked to be a reliever, he's given up runs in some spots, but he's been mostly consistent. And in a time where we really didn't have a solid bullpen, like we don't even know if Clay Holmes is back to himself, and we were endorsing Clay Holmes as this all-star pitcher before, and he was, but for some reason he flipped. Marinaccio was one of those guys you could trust, and we were literally wondering for weeks, why in the hell is he not up? And they called him up. He's still up. Right now he has an ERA. He has an ERA of 1.73. So that's not bad at all. 44 strikeouts and 36.1 innings. That's not bad. The next question, new guys that made a bad impression on your team this year.
Oh, my goodness.
I know it might be a long list.
Well, I know Franchi got time last year, but I got to put Franchi at the top of that list because the potential's still there, and he started playing well here late. But the errors at first base, the inconsistency at the plate. That's what really sticks out to me. You just thought he was going to be that piece. Trading Benintendi for him and then seeing Benintendi go to the Yankees kills me, man. It really does. And, I'm surprised he wasn't on your list there for the impressive guys. I know he didn't do much before he gets injured there.
Him on the IL pains me, but he did make a good impression.
Right.
Just they didn't use him correctly, but keep going.
But no, I'll just, I'll keep it with Franchi there. I don't think he's going to be a member of this team for much longer. Benintendi just fits so well, and we see him in Franchi because that's who we traded him for, and it's just not working out.
Yeah, and he's been in a mix of positions, still not working out for the Red Sox, as I could see. New guys that made a bad impression this year for the Yankees definitely has to be Josh Donaldson. Other than that little, spike of offense he had against the Red Sox and the White Sox, not much. Fake tough guy attitude, pretty much after that whole Tim Anderson thing, and that's not totally his fault because the Yankees wanted to maintain a good image. But he has not brought anything to this team other than solid defense, which we could get out of IKF. And, IKF at least hits the ball. Josh Donaldson doesn't. And he's going to be off the paternity list probably by Saturday. So they'll probably send somebody like Andrew Harback down, who actually hit a homer today. But he has not been good for the team this year. IKF to an extent, but recently he's come on as a good third baseman. So there's that. But Josh Donaldson would probably be the number one in terms of bad impressions for me, in terms of that. So next one, new guys that made an indifferent impression this year. Like you don't know how to feel.
I wanted to be positive about Trevor Story, and I'm still optimistic, but I'm a little bit worried about him. And I will say, it seems like every game there's like a great play from Trevor Story. He's so good out there at second base, something that we haven't seen in a while. And I know I've talked about that a lot, but it's nice to have a solid middle infield, with Bogarts and Story. But he seems a little bit injury prone. The bat is a little bit inconsistent. So I don't know how to feel about Story. He came onto the scene early on in his career, was hitting bombs in Colorado. Everybody was hyped about him, and now he's, it's a big stage now. We're in Boston, so I want to see how he goes next year. I'm a little bit indifferent with Trevor Story.
Yeah. So a couple of guys that are indifferent when it comes to my thoughts. One of them, probably Lou Trevino to start. I don't know how to feel about him. He's come over to trade. He's done decent in some spots, and he's given up some runs in some spots. And this guy was supposed to be fixed. I mean, we're a month into it, and let me look at his stats with the Yankees. It would probably help my cause. So his stats with the Yankees since coming over: 1-2, 0.68 ERA. So he's gotten better, but overall he has a 4.76 ERA on the year with a 2-8 record. So I just feel like I haven't seen him enough to make as good of an impression. Maybe when he's got a clean slate next year. Scott F. Ross, he blew up in one situation, but I don't know how to feel about him yet. I feel like I need a little bit more time. Weissert, a little bit of the same thing because he's given up some runs in some very I don't know, very inconvenient spots. He's given up runs like today. He gave up the 2-run home run to Carlos Correa. He's given runs up in inconvenient spots. With that being said, there's some other times where he just has his stuff. He's got some really good breaking pitches, and I guess today he didn't have it. And listen, next year is going to be an evaluation year for some of these guys because Herman is a free agent. Jamison Tyon's a free agent. Some of these other guys in the rotation, Chapman's a free agent, Britton's a free agent. So it's going to be a little bit of an open competition when it comes to relief pitching and the starting pitching. In terms of hitters who I can't make yet, I guess I would say Harrison Bader is a Yankee. We haven't seen him yet. We probably will see him at some point, maybe on the playoff roster. But I just don't like trading for guys in walking boots. That's just not one of my favorite things to do. typical Yankees. And it's weird, though, because he has plantar fasciitis, which was an injury somebody had. I'll hint to it in a second. Plantar fasciitis. He's a center fielder, and he wears number 22. And that's Jacoby Ellsbury right there. Jacoby Ellsbury had plantar fasciitis. Jacoby Ellsbury was a center fielder. Jacoby Ellsbury wore number 22. So I'm not trying to make him, into Jacoby Ellsbury, but I don't know. I don't want to get there. I don't want to get there anytime soon. But with that being said, we could transition into our picks. I'm going to go share a screen here because I've actually got my playoff predictors up. Okay, so kind of did this on Monday. I think at least we did. But anyway, we're going to do it again. I might even change some of my picks. But anyway, I guess the way Hicks got a hit, wow. I'm shocked, but they do have a good situation. Double. Aaron Judge is actually up. So I'm actually going to turn the game on, see what happens here. But anyway, basically give your thoughts on the game. Shouts to Jeff Nelson. He says Bader is damaged goods. Hopefully he's not in a Yankee uniform, but right now it's not looking good. So they actually gave Aaron Judge an intentional walk. So now they can deal with Torres with one out. Let's see if Torres can come out of that situation. Bases loaded, bottom of the ninth. Says Jets mess. But let's go with our picks for the week. We can give a little description on the game and why you pick a certain team to win. Sox, we could start with the Colts-Texans game.
I always like this matchup right here. I'm going to go with the Colts because there seemed to be every year so much turmoil with that Texans ownership group and all that. I like what the Colts are doing with Matt Ryan, and I think they're going to go into Houston, even though they struggled down there, I believe, and get a win week 1.
Yeah, I think the same thing. Davis Mills had a solid rookie season last year, probably the best QB stats, or probably the second best QB stats out of the rookie class. And I just think new head coach and Lovie Smith, a couple of new coaches on that staff. It's gonna be a little bit of a rocky start, and I just truly don't trust the Texans, to be fair. I don't think the Colts will be a fantastic team this year, but I think they'll be at least solid 500. It is a prove-it year for Frank Reich, though. It is a prove-it year. Jeff Nelson says he won't be back. He won't help them. Not sure what Cashman was thinking. He wasn't. Yeah, Cashman doesn't think for a lot of different things, which is unfortunate. But hey, he's the Yankees GM, and well, he's probably going to get an extension at some point. Anyway, going on to the next game, Steelers at Bengals. Your thoughts, Sox?
That's a good one. Another division game, week 1 for that division, which is always going to be good smash mouth football. I'm going to go with the home team in this one. I think the Bengals crowd is going to be fired up after that AFC championship. And Pittsburgh, obviously, with the new quarterback core, they lead the NFL with the most backup quarterbacks. And the Bengals with Joe Burrow are going to go in there and probably dominate, I would say.
Yeah, Mitchell Trubisky is starting week 1 for the Steelers. They may want to focus on running the football rather than passing. And I'm talking about the Bengals, of course, because the Steelers' run defense was very bad last year. I believe they were 32nd in the NFL. But they probably made some few adjustments in there as Torres strikes out with the bases loaded. He sucks. But I feel like the Bengals are going to put some pressure on Mitch Trubisky. That's a new offensive line right there. Maybe one starter from the last few years. I'm trying to think right to left or left to right, really. James Daniels they got. He's new. Kendra Green and J.C. Hassenauer on the inside. So a lot of replacements on that offensive line. But I'm going to take the Bengals here. They may end up sweeping them. That's kind of what they did last year. But we'll see. We'll see. Your thoughts on Ravens versus Jets, which my brother will be at this weekend.
Oh, nice. That'll be fun. It's always good to go to an NFL game, man. The Bills just scored again, and they're going to go up 24-10. Fourth quarter, 13 minutes left. I think the Ravens are going to dominate, and I think the Jets' defense might be a little bit better, as you mentioned earlier, talking about it. But I don't think it's going to be much of a difference maker. I see the Ravens going in there dominating.
Okay. So I'm going to try to find something. Hopefully I'm not. Okay, so I'm just going to look at something real quick because me and my friend, and okay, so good. Nobody picked the Buffalo game because I want to make sure that because in our point system, I'm not losing. Anyway, I'm going to take Baltimore. I think it's going to be a 2-score game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be a close game to start. But I think the Jets' offense could be solid, but I don't think that defense is really going to know how to stop Lamar in the running game till maybe midway. Obviously, the linebacking core is a little suspicious. They did get Quan Alexander. They still have C.J. Mosley. But I don't know. I'm just not confident in the defensive game plan. I'm going to take the Ravens on this one. Next game is the Patriots versus the Dolphins.
That's an interesting matchup, and I like Miami at home. I know New England struggles down there, and I think it's going to be a good game, probably a 1 or 2 score game. I'd probably take the Dolphins by 10. I like what they got with their additions. Tua's coming off a off season with a bunch of hype around him. Mac Jones probably going to have a good game week 1. But let's take Miami with I'd like to see who's favored in that game, but I'll take them to win it.
Yeah, I mean, betting odds have Miami actually winning and favored to win. But with that being said, I'm actually going to take New England because I feel like Mike McDaniel's first game, he's coming into. Obviously, you got Jalen Waddle and you got Tyreek Hill. A lot of good weapons for Tua. But with that being said, I feel like the Patriots are going to come at him with a defensive game plan, and I feel like they're going to make Tua look like a shell of himself from Alabama, of course. But maybe the Dolphins get him back later in the season. I'm going to take the Patriots here. With that being said, Raiders-Chargers. You obviously went to the stadium before to see Giants-Chargers, and that was a total blowout. But thoughts?
Well, it was not. I mean, it was a beautiful stadium. I like it. Justin Herbert had probably the throw of his career in that game. You remember down the seam, probably 70 yards. I like the Raiders. I like the between Derek Carr and their new addition with Devontae Adams. Those boys have been playing football together for a long time. The Chargers struggling with the Justin Herbert situation. He's a good quarterback. It sucked that he had to be put in the game with practically a what was it, a punctured lung from Tyrod Taylor? Is that who? Yeah.
Tyrod Taylor was the backup, punctured lung, and Justin Herbert came in.
Yeah, man. I like what Justin Herbert's got down there. I just see the Raiders coming in and winning on the road. I really do. They might be able to run the ball as well. Jacobs having a big game. I see maybe 100 yards from him, maybe 100 yards from Devontae Adams. Let's take the Raiders.
I'll take the Raiders too, but shout out to Jacob, says, we lost Gleyber Torres strikeout, IKF ground out. Yes, I did watch the end of the game. Fortunately, the Yankees lost. But I think the Raiders, obviously second-year head coach Brandon Staley, J.C. Jackson will not play this weekend, which could be troubling because he probably will be the number 1, number 2 corner. Josh McDaniels, he's got better personnel, in my opinion. Now, obviously, those are 2 very good fronts, elite fronts, if that. But I feel like Josh McDaniels is going to come into this game and they're going to win. The Chargers may get the Raiders back at Allegiant Stadium, but at the same time, Raiders fans travel well and Chargers fans do not. So with that being said, I am going to take the Raiders. Obviously, we'll skip over this game because that's still going on right now. Jaguars in Washington.
That'll be an interesting game. I think Washington probably wins it. In an ugly game, I would take a low-scoring game there. Carson Wentz going to have interesting debut there. I think the Jaguars are in shambles coming off the Urban Meyer deal. Tim Tebow trying to be their tight end. That's just a wreck over there. So I'm going to take Washington.
All right. Let me go ahead and I think I might take Washington too. I just want to remember what I got on my picks that I did earlier this week. Maybe I even closed out the page. But yeah, I'll take Washington. Let's see. Trevor Lawrence. Yeah. No, I'm going to be bold. I'm going to take Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence, new system. I feel like Carson Wentz might shit himself against his former coach. And Washington didn't win last year when the Chargers were there. I feel like it could be the similar same situation. The Browns at the Panthers.
Who would have thought this would be one of the marquee matchups of this week 1? But honestly, I really do think the Browns go in there and do some work, win by 2+ scores.
Okay. I'm going to take the Panthers here. Brissett, obviously, he's got some weapons, but he's not that good of a quarterback. And Matt Stafford just threw another interception. Start on my fantasy team, my fucking ass. So Baker, he's got some weapons. They got a solid team. I don't think they're going to live up to the hype at the end of the year. But against a very, very mediocre Browns team, I'm taking the Panthers all the way. Kansas City Chiefs at Arizona Cardinals.
I'll take the Cardinals. I'd like to see who's favored in that game. I think their offense is going to have a field day, and the defense honestly is going to give Patrick Mahomes some problems. Watch out for that Cardinals defense, even after losing Chandler Jones. I think they're going to give him some problems, maybe a couple picks, and Cardinals win in a good one.
All right, I am taking the Cardinals as well. The Chiefs usually start off with struggling. The Chiefs are favored in this game, but they usually start off the season badly, kind of like the Steelers do. It's a new offense. I don't doubt that it's going to be good at some point, but they usually struggle. They started off not great last year. They started off under 500. So I'm going to take the Cardinals here, but I think this is part of Cliff Kingsbury's master plan every year, which is start the season off good, end the season terribly. And that's that. Next game, Giants at Titans.
I'm going to take the Giants. I think it's going to be a really tough game to win. I always pick the Giants no matter what. I know it's I've lost, many times with that pick, but I'm going to just stick true with Big Blue because it's week 1. Why not? Let's go.
All right, so Sox being bold. I'm going to take the Titans. I feel like it's going to be a good game. Maybe the Giants have the lead once or twice. But it's going to be a learning game, a young linebacker core against Derrick Henry. The offense doesn't scare me outside of Tennessee, outside of Derrick Henry. But I feel like our cornerbacks, other than Adoree Jackson, could get picked on a little bit. But the Titans overall, I think they're going to win this game. The next one is Denver and Seattle.
Oh, no way Russell Wilson loses to his former team. Denver, book it.
Yeah, Geno Smith starts for the Seahawks. I don't know who thought this would be a good Monday night matchup. I guess, people did.
It could be.
Anyway, I'm taking the Broncos by a mile. Very depleted team that could end up with the number 1 overall pick. Next game, San Francisco in Chicago.
I got Trey Lance on my fantasy team, so go Niners.
Right. New situation for Matt Eberflus. And the Bears team, not a very good put-together team, by the way. Not a very good put-together team. The 49ers, obviously, still got Deebo Samuel and some of the other cats, Elijah Mitchell. But Trey Lance is in the quarterback, and maybe closer than expected. So I'm still going to go San Francisco. Now the Eagles at the Lions.
Dan Campbell going to walk all over these Philadelphia Eagles and make them fly home. Go Lions.
Yeah. I don't think they'll walk all over them. I think it's going to be a very close game, possibly walk-off fashion.
That'd
I'm
be
taking
great.
the Lions here. I think they're a new team. Not that the Lions are going to be anything too special this year, but the Eagles will come in a little bit over their heads. They'll still be a good team this year. I just think the Lions are going to take the opener. We got 3 games to go. Saints at Falcons.
Also, that Lions game is sold out, by the way,
Yeah,
and
I did hear
it's gonna be awesome. Um, the I'm gonna take this is one matchup that I haven't really kept my eyes on either of these two teams. Let's see who's the starter for Atlanta.
Marcus Mariota.
Mariota. Okay, I'm gonna just take the Saints. I don't know too much about that matchup there. I'll be honest with you.
Okay. Marcus Mariota, obviously the starter versus Jameis Winston, the 1 and 2 overall picks from the 2015 draft,
Okay.
playing for 2 different squads right now. Ironically, still in the southern part, of course, because Winston was for the Bucks and Mariota was for the Tennessee Titans. With that being said, I think that obviously Dennis Allen didn't have a good time as a coach with the Raiders, but he will do better slightly this season with, and that's another touchdown, by the way. So the Rams are just getting their asses fucking handed to them. Falcons are not a good put together team this year. Could be in contention for that number 1 overall pick. I'm taking the Saints. Next game is Green Bay and Minnesota.
I'm a big Aaron Rodgers fan. He's going to run that division until he retires. Packers win probably by 24-10.
Jasmine Smith says Allen is going to get killed running this match. As long as he's throwing touchdowns, he will be fine.
There's oh shit. Oh, that's the touchdown. Okay.
Yep. Green Bay versus a rebuilding Vikings team, retooling Vikings team. I think the Vikings are slept on a little bit. Could be near the 500 mark this year. Maybe, maybe not. Depends on how Kevin O'Connell does as the head coach. I'm taking the Green Bay Packers, though. I know a lot of people are suspicious about Devontae Adams not being there, but he's got Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson, Allen Lazard. He can make it happen. Even with that running game, he can make it happen. But Bucks at Cowboys.
I'm excited for that matchup, man. And I hate to say it, but I really do think Dallas is going to win, and I'm going to pick them. I hate picking Dallas, but that Arlington Stadium is going to be rocking. I like Dak. I hate to say it. I think he's going to have a good year this year, as he did last year. The Cowboys are going to run the ball. Pollard, you know how it is. Tom Brady, that whole hype with off the field stuff going on right now is going to be tough coming into Dallas with 100,000+. Even though he's got good weapons, practically his whole team back. I think Dallas wins a close game.
Yeah, I think Dallas wins a close game as well. I'm actually changing my pick here because I originally had Tampa Bay. But Tampa Bay will still be good. Dallas will still be a little overrated, as they usually are.
Always.
But with that being said, I'm going to take Dallas because Brady was off the field for a few weeks. The wife problems, not really in sync with the offense. Fortunately, I think Dallas is going to win this. But that'll take us to the end of the show. Sox, final thoughts.
Man, good luck on your other show tonight. I really do. I'm so happy that football's back. Baseball, wrapping up for the Red Sox this year. It's nice to just relax and look at the individual accomplishments for these guys. Casas' home run was big win going in next year, signing Kike Hernandez. Looks like we're trying to win a little bit next year. I am happy for you that your team is going to go in the playoffs, and I really, good luck on that. As long as they don't win a World Series, I'll be happy. So we can meet somewhere in the middle there, But other than that, go Giants this Sunday. We'll see you guys next week. Make sure you go hit up Big Beat Reactions and subscribe to Alex in Sox, Arizona. Let's go.
Yes. At around 11 o'clock, I will be, if you're on the Eastern time zone, I'll be on the Tennessee Titans weekly podcast. We're talking Giants Titans coming up this week. So that's going to be a lot of fun in the next few minutes. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe to all that good stuff. Both channels, including Big Beat Reactions, subscribe there. Saturday should be the Big Blue in the Bronx podcast reviewing the Titans game. And then we'll be back with more content. Peace out, guys. See you later. Good night.